If I asked you what has been the best-selling iron since 2017, I think only one brand and one model come to mind, and that is the Taylormade P790. Well, now there's a new one. Yep, that's right. Taylormade have now released the new Taylormade P790 Iron, arguably one of the best-selling irons for the last 4 years. I originally had a set in 2017 and I didn't get on with them. I changed out of them pretty quickly. That could have possibly been down to the iron, it could possibly have been down to my swing at the time. Either way, I didn't really get on with them and I shifted out of them within about 6 months and probably wasted a bit of money doing it. So I kind of dismissed the last model, the 2019 model, looked pretty similar and I assumed would just be the same. Well, now I've got the new P790 iron in the studio, ready for fitting from today, and I have to say, it looks phenomenal. Now, I was a big fan of the P770. I've done a review, and that review I'll put up here of the P770, so do click that if you want to see that. But what I like about this new P790 is it looks just like the P770. It blends superbly. Now I want to put this to the test. I want to see what it's like and see if my old preconceptions of the P790 can be changed, because I won't lie to you, wasn't really a fan because of a bad experience. So I'm going to go out onto the golf course, I'm going to put this club to the test out in its natural environment, and then I'm going to come back in, get some data and see what happens. Previous experiences with the P790 is I got flyers every now and then. So will that happen with the new one? There's only one way to tell. Let's get out on the golf course and let's test it. So I've come out of the studio and I'm here on the Oakwood course at the Ashbury Golf Resort, and I am going to now test the P790 outdoors. And I've got 3 different balls, and for me, when it comes to a club like this, it's all about consistency of yardage. So I'm going to hit 3 tee shots and see roughly if they can go the same sort of distance. I'm just going to hit 3 different iron shots out there and see where they go. That was a good strike down the middle, so I'll take that. So that's a good start. Feels really good. Feels actually a little bit better for me than last year's. So a little bit higher ball flight on that one, but another good strike. Pretty similar location, I think. What I will say is this club feels so good off the face. Really, really good off the face. A little bit lower, so I've hit 3 pretty decent shots, but actually different strikes. So the first one was okay, the second one was really good, and that one was a little bit thin. So it'd be interesting to see where the drop-offs are. So let's get down there and see where they finished. So as we walk down to the fairway, I'm really impressed with this. So let's turn the camera around and let's look at where they finished. So the really good strike that went a bit higher is there. This is the first strike, and then over there in the rough, if we can see it, the red ball, there it is the one that I hit a little bit thin. And what I like about that is that they've all gone pretty much the same distance, including roll. And that for me is what I want a club to do, is I want to know the yardage I'm hitting and I'm not going to get any inconsistencies in that. And so far with that first strike, I'm really impressed with that they're all like 2 yards apart when it comes to actual finishing distance. And that's what players want these days. They want consistency. They don't want flyers. They just want to know they've hit a good ball and it's going to hit a yardage that they've been gapped for. So before I play this par 3, let's go back into the studio and see what kind of data we got. Okay, let's talk tech and let's talk about what Taylormade are saying about this new P790. So speed foam is obviously back. Hollow body design, speed foam insert inside, but this new engineered speed foam is 69% lighter than its predecessor, and it provides an average of 3.5 grams of weight saving that has been redistributed further to optimize mass properties for better launch conditions. As with all the P790s, it's got the through slot speed pocket, and what that's going to do is aid ball speeds and aid launch on lower strikes on the head. And as with always, it's got 31 grams of tungsten in and around the head in order to distribute weight, in order to relocate CG to help with the ball launch. Lofts with this, well, as always with the P790, it is 30.5 degrees, so it's on the stronger side of a 7 iron, but it's not in the ridiculous side where it's 27.5, 28. So it's kind of sitting in the middle of like a player's iron at 33, 34 and a forgiving iron at 28, 27 sort of loft. Now, if I do a side-by-side comparison of these two clubs, then from the bottom, they look pretty similar, except that the old one is more of a shiny sort of finish, and the bottom one is more of that matte satin kind of look. The top lines are very similar, but I must say the new top line on the new P790 is actually thinner, whereas with the old P790, it kind of blended away a bit, so it had that look of looking thinner, but actually it was quite thick. This new top line is actually thinner than the old one, so for me, actually looks a lot better. And then obviously at the back there are differences as well, and I think this has been changed to sort of blend better with the P770 and then onto the P7MCs. It's kind of that look, so I think blending these with the new P770 is going to be so much easier to do as long as you get the lofts correct. I have to say, Taylormade, it's a big improvement. So we'll come back inside to look at the data. Now I hit 10 shots with the P719 using the same style of ball, so it was a Q-Star Tour with this test. So let's take a look at the numbers. So ball speed 122.6. It's there or thereabouts what I'd like to see with a 7 iron, although this is a pretty stronger lofted 7 iron compared to what I'm used to, but ball speed is up there. Standard deviation 1.9, which is actually pretty good for me. I always found when I owned the P790s previously that I'd get flyers, and out of this 10 shot bank that I just did, I didn't get one flyer. They were all pretty accurate. Launch angle 15 degrees, so this is a 30-degree 7 iron, and I always want to launch it 50% of the club's loft, so that is absolutely bang on. Spin is down at 4.4 with a deviation of 390, so that's up into the high 4s, down into the low 4s. For me, that's too low really for that what I'd want a 7 iron to be. I'd like that spin to be up indoors at about 5.5 to 6,000, so it's about 1,000 revs down on what I would like to see, and it's actually the only thing that's let this club down in my opinion. Average carry 181 with a deviation of 3 yards, so that's 184 to 178. That's pretty tight when it comes to a 10 shot average. I'm really impressed with that. 181 as well, considering the loft isn't too far. At 30 degrees, I'd probably expect that to be, it's 1 degree weaker than my 6 iron, so about 185. So it's where I'd expect it to be, which is absolutely spot on for the club. Shot shape, right to left, landing perfectly in the middle with a pretty tight dispersion. Actually, indoor data, really impressed with it compared to what I'd previously experienced with previous models. Let's get back out into the course and see how it performs back out there. Okay, so you can see from the data that it kind of reflects what that first shot did for me, which was being a consistent yardage. I owned previously, like I said before, the previous generation, the first generation of the P790. I didn't own it for very long. I didn't get on with it. I found so many inconsistencies with yardage, but a lot of that at the time, granted, was probably down to my swing as well. So, you know, I've got to take that into account. But what I'm liking so far with this version of the P790 is so far I've not got a flyer, and even in the studio and out on the course, I'm getting that consistency of yardage, albeit possibly a little bit further than I want it to go for a 7 iron, but not a lot further. Right, so this is actually a long way. It's 205 yards, so it's probably too far for this 7 iron, but it means I can keep it in play. I might be able to bounce it down, but for me, I just want to see a consistency of yardage still. But to look at, it looks superb, it looks fantastic, and I've always liked the look of the P790. I was just put off with a bit of an experience, that was all. That's a really good strike. So yeah, it's going to be short, definitely. Might be front of the green, but really good strike. Ball went up in the air really nicely. Something I was seeing in the studio as well was a great peak height. So sometimes with this little with 30 degrees of loft, so you can sometimes just see them a little bit lower, but actually that came out really well. Great peak height, and had the green been in my yardage, that would have probably stopped pretty well. It's another good strike. And actually, pretty similar sort of location to that first one. So just seeing exactly what I saw in the studio. It's another good strike. Oh, it's made the green as well. Yeah. There's not really a lot I can say at the moment, apart from it just feels so good. So just walking to the green, and again, really impressive. So as you can see here, that's my last shot, and then the other two are over there if we go and have a look, and they are so close together. It is just unreal. You look at the pitch marks and where we've come from up there. That is what I want from an iron, is consistency of yardage, and it feels superb, absolutely superb off the middle of the face. It doesn't feel like a hollow bodied club. I mean, I've hit some hollow bodied clubs from the Apex Pro to the previous 790 to the ZX4, and that P790 has got to be one of the best feeling ones I've hit so far. It just feels better than it should. Okay, so I've come to another hole here on the oak wood, and this one is a little bit different. So this one's slightly into wind, it's uphill, and I've probably got about 200 yards to go, so I'm actually not going to get there, but I just want to give myself enough room. But as you can see, it's a pretty tight shot, so this is going to need a little bit of accuracy. So this is now like, how well will this club work when I put myself under a little bit of pressure to sort of stay, well, on the golf course really. So one, can we get it there? And two, how does it perform into wind is the main question. Oh, that is such a good strike. I mean, it's not going to get there, but my word, did that feel good. The ball just went up lovely into the wind. It didn't balloon up. Absolutely superb shot. And again, yeah, I mean, it's not getting there. I gave myself a little bit of an unrealistic target here, but I will say, it just feels superb. It doesn't feel like a hollow body club. It's the only way I can say it. It feels as good to me as the P770 does all day long, and I thought the P770 felt fantastic. This new P790 feels just as good. Okay, I've just pulled that one a little bit. So pulled that one a little bit, but I have to say, feels, sound, performance, it's just up there with the P770. And I thought the P770 was possibly one of Taylormade's best ever irons. So as we come up here again, it's the consistency. I keep saying it. One ball there, another ball just a few yards behind, and then I've got one in the tree somewhere. Well, it wouldn't be a Levy view if it wasn't in the tree, would it? Got to be in the tree somewhere. But as we walk towards it, and we can see it here now, it's directly in line with these other two. Here it is. There it is. It's directly in line with those other two. We'll go and have one more shot, but the big takeaway for me from this is how well it feels, how well it performs, and the consistency of all the strikes. It's just so good. Okay, final shot now. We're going to tee off of this hole here. Now, as you can see down there, there's a tree in the way that I need to clear. It's a very tight tee shot. It's out of bounds to the right, and there's trees to the left. So this is going to require a pretty accurate tee shot. But again, I'm looking to see what the consistency is of these balls and see if we can fly the similar distance every time. Like, what is there not to like about this club? Literally, what is there not to like about it? It just sounds off the crate, comes off the face superb, and the peak height I'm so impressed with. So impressed with the peak height. A little bit down the left on that one, but it's going to be there or thereabouts. Right, final ball. But so far, I could play these. I could easily play these. Possibly just a little bit far for yardage for what I would like, but that is literally the only fault I can give them. Just so good, really good peak height. That one took a bit of a bounce, that might be a little bit further, but the peak height is superb. You saw on that par 3, it stops on the green really well, which is something that I want to see, is the spin when it comes to these sorts of irons. All in all, I really can't fault it. It looks great, it looks just like the P770, it sounds superb, feels great off the face, it performs really well, great peak height, great distance. Go and buy this club. So come down to the fairway. There's my first ball in the middle of the fairway, which was actually a really good hit. And then the two that I'd pulled left and thought that were probably going to go a little bit further, have probably gone about 3 yards further. And again, they're just right next to each other. There they are, right next to each other. A little bit further up because I obviously de-lofted the club slightly to get it to go left. But all in all, it's every shot I've taken with this is giving me a predictable yardage and a consistent yardage. So as I stand here now, I think the conclusion for me is the P790 is just as good as it's probably always been. It's not been the best selling iron, or in my opinion, I've got no stats to back that up, but I can only assume that it's one of the, if not the best selling iron of the last 4 years for no reason. Except now, I think the transition from the 17 to the 19 model was subtle by the changes. It was very subtle aesthetically, slight changes to the weighting and things like that. But I think now it looks more in line with the way the models work. It looks a lot like the P770, except it's like just a bit stronger lofted, but it looks and it blends well. So I think if you want to blend your irons now, they will look better between P790 and P770. That blend will look a lot nicer. I'm struggling to pick a fault with it, I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's performed so well out here. Even in the studio with a numbered, it performed really well. I think the only flaw with it, and that's a personal flaw for me, is it's too stronger lofted. And I think that's why I would go into P770s, because of the weaker loft. But as an iron, as an independent iron, as a review of just the iron, it's superb. It is absolutely superb. And I think the fact that it's now available for pre-order, you can now get fitted for it. So if anybody wants to get fitted for it, I've got the fitting head here, I've got the shafts here. You can come to the Ashbury and get fitted for it. And on the 3rd of September, on its release date, I just think these orders are going to fly out of the Taylormade factory, because I think the P790 has got such a fan base and such a following that people will want to transition into the new one, even if they're playing the current model or the 2019 model, because it's got a little family around it. And I think those people are going to absolutely enjoy the new P790. It is phenomenal. It is really good. And I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for watching. If you have liked this review, please do give it a thumbs up down below. It does mean the world to me. Please also, if you are new here or you've watched my channel before and you're not yet subscribed, please do click that subscribe button down below. Lots more to come with this channel, including my Rotor Pro series, as well as many more reviews. But for the time being, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to hit some more shots on my way into the clubhouse, and I'll see you all on the next video.